I shot mule deer out there. We chased blacktail in Oregon, antelope in Wyoming. I did as much as I possibly could have.
Okay.
Because it gets, when you get out west, it gets wild. It's like, I've heard them howling. I was like, well, sometimes you got to think like, are you the predator really in that situation, or is it, you know, something else? So he shot, and his doe kind of like ran off, and he was like, of course, like, hurry, shoot, shoot, shoot.
Yeah.
And as I'm boiling my water, the pot tipped, spilled all the water, and put the fire out. That was a pretty good moment too. I remember going just like, oh man. So Donnie McGeehan, I'm from a small town outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I pretty much just tell everybody Pittsburgh because nobody knows where industry is.
Okay.
It's a small town. It's about an hour outside of Pittsburgh, right next to the Ohio border. I'm 39, so getting up there a little bit. I think it's still okay. And again, I'm an Air Force recruiter right now.
Very cool. Very cool. Was that your first job in the Air Force?
No, hell no. This is my 4th different job that I've had in the Air Force so far.
Okay. You want to talk us through those?
Yeah. So the first pretty much like 11 years of my career, I was aircraft hydraulics. And even within hydraulics, so like once you get in, right, there's so many different avenues to go down. There's a lot of different jobs to apply for that you just can't get right off the street. So I did hydraulics for about 5 years, and then I was quality assurance for hydraulics. Hydraulics is just, it's aircraft maintenance. And with aircraft, once you fix the jet, there's a lot of checks and balances. Because you're signing your name that says, like Donnie McGeehan says, this aircraft is safe for flight. So there's a lot of folks that have to come in behind you to make sure what you do is actually correct. That's just quality assurance.
Gotcha.
So I did quality assurance for 2 years. And then I went back to hydraulics for another couple. And then I did mobile operations control center, where I was kind of like the middle individual, just from like when the pilot lands. So I talked to the pilots a lot, and the like the air traffic control tower a lot.
Okay.
Back to hydraulics again. Now I'm a recruiter.
All right. Very cool.
So we beat Bob a lot.
All right. So out of those 4 jobs, which one would you say was the best?
Hydraulics.
Okay.
Without an absolute doubt, yeah.
Why is that?
And it's just, everybody's kind of individual, really own opinion here. I'm just not, in recruiting, this is an office job. I'm just not much of an office person. When I've been deployed, it was, at one point it was negative 35, and I've been deployed when it's been 130. It's just like kind of a unique experience to go through.
Sure.
And you realize like the folks you were with, you also find out who has grit. So it's just, I'm an outdoorsy person, so I'd much rather just be outside than inside all day.
Okay. All right. So we'll talk one last thing about the Air Force stuff. What's your origin story of why you came into the Air Force?
Honestly, it's for selfish reasons. It was, I joined for free school, I joined for travel, because outside of like, it's a small town where I'm from. Mm-hmm. And it was always just aspirations to literally just go out west and do everything that I watched on In Fisherman and everything like that on, again, then YouTube even came along, but just watching TV as a kid.
Okay.
Jackie Bushman and all that kind of hunting stuff. I just wanted to get out of Pittsburgh. I wanted to have somebody to pay for school, and I wanted a job that I was able to like keep promoting within. Because I had a bunch of different jobs where it was like, all right, we got one manager, and that position's not going to open up until that individual moves on.
Right, right.
And I didn't want to be stuck with something like that anymore. I was 24, so it was kind of the point where I was like, I got to do something.
Sure.
And then 15 years later, here we go.
Okay. So you talked about how you wanted to go out west, and you said that your first base was out west?
Mm-hmm. Washington State, yep.
Okay. What kind of outdoor stuff were you doing out there?
I did everything I possibly could have. Even when it was the first time, again, going from Pittsburgh, it was my buddy and I drove to Washington State. So we drove across the country. And it was like a little cheesy, but the first time I got to Colorado, and it was the first time I saw a mule deer, I like started welling up, started tearing up.
You saw it on the way out there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just jacked to see something different other than squirrels, whitetail, that kind of jazz.
Yeah.
So in Washington, I put in for bighorn sheep tags. It's a lottery, never got drawn. Put in for moose, never got drawn. But I shot a couple black bear out there. I shot mule deer out there. We chased blacktail in Oregon, antelope in Wyoming. I did as much as I possibly could have.
Okay. So did you put in for the black bear and you got it, and then threw the draw?
So no, in Washington State, and even when, so Washington, it's like, it was $100 for bear, elk, deer, mountain lion. Washington is a hard state for elk, I was close multiple times. It was just me screwing it up, just learning, from just mistakes.
Do you get preference points out there?
Nope, you just buy the tag,
Okay.
which is awesome. Moose you put in for a draw 4, bighorn you put in, draw 4. But I shot a lot of turkey out there too. That was the one nice thing about Washington is that you're just able to buy the tags. Versus Colorado, when I've hunted there, it's always a draw.
Right.
So no matter what, even if you're active military, it still classifies you as non-resident for some of those states. Versus Oregon, my bear there, I purchase a resident tag because Oregon, when you're active duty, classifies you as a resident.
It's a
So
cheat
it was
code.
like, it was like a $25 non-resident tag, which was a steal of a deal, yeah.
That's crazy.
Mhm.
Versus like I'm sure it's a couple $100s.
I think it was $400 for non-resident at the time, yeah. Who knows what the heck it is now?
That's insane.
I'm sure, it's even worse.
So you did that. What's your preferred method of when you're hunting? Like bow, gun, muzzleloader, handgun?
It's really anything just to get my butt out there. I do way more gun hunting because I got out west. I really got into mule deer and turkey
Okay.
way more than anything. The first time I actually ever missed a deer, it was a mule deer doe and it was with my bow. And I remember I shot under her and I didn't know what happened. I remember after I released, she stood there and I was like, what the heck? I never missed a deer before until that one. It was the first mule deer I ever drew on, ever shot at, and I botched the heck out of it. I was just pumped. I would say I do way more gun just because I go turkey hunting so much, because Washington has Easterns, Rios, and Merriams. So I've shot Rios and Merriams out there, and the Easterns are actually on the west side of the state. So bear, it was always gun. Deer, it's been just hit or miss. It's been archery and rifle. I've got them in both.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of plains out west as well. So archery gives you way more opportunity and more time because it's just all about, watching the wind.
Yeah, it's
And
like spot and stalk stuff out
Yeah,
there.
it is. And it's a lot of sagebrush. But when you go archery, again, it's like a 2-month season.
Sure.
So that's way more opportunity. And plus just to scout later on for rifle. So I would say all in all, it's more rifle, but it's, I don't know, anything you got to do to get out there. That's the biggest thing.
That's fair. That's fair. How'd you end up getting into hunting? Like, what was the thing that got you?
His my old man, pretty much.
Okay.
I don't know if it was like a classic, like, little boy following his dad's story. It just, me and the old man weren't really close when I was growing up. And we did go hunting and fishing. That was like our kind of bonding moment.
Sure.
And it just kind of stuck with me. Even after, like, trout season's big back in Pittsburgh, it's usually like the second or first Saturday in April. People camp out maybe like the whole week just to catch like, 12-inch stock trout. People call off work, it's a big deal.
Okay.
And I remember doing that as a kid, and that's what got me hooked on watching, like in fishermen in the morning, Saturday morning, stuff like that. And it's just kind of molded with me just ever since. It just feels right,
Okay. All right.
oddly enough.
So, with all that stuff, I know you do your fishing and stuff like that too. Like, what would you say is your best outdoor moment?
Oh man, that's a tough one. My best outdoor moment. I don't know. I've had a lot of failures that were pretty awesome.
Okay.
Just because it was like the first time I drew back on an elk, it was a 4x4 elk, wasn't big at all. But I was just cow calling and he bugled like right around the ridge. And I went, oh my gosh, this is it. Even before I saw him, I thought, I've done it. And I was by myself, just learning. I thought, I've done it. And I cow called again, and I remember I had that little thing, and I was like pushing a bunch real fast, just not knowing what was going on. And I heard him run. I was like, I rounded the corner, and when I drew, he was about 100 yards. I was like, I'm gonna botch it. I can't. I was shaking so bad, and I didn't even get that animal. That was pretty outstanding.
Okay.
Because it was just small town Pennsylvania to elk was a dream.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've seen wolves and stuff like that. That's been pretty sweet. Yeah. Scary and awesome at the same time.
Okay.
Because when you get out west, it gets wild. It's like, I've heard them howling. I was like, well, sometimes you got to think, like, are you the predator really in that situation, or is it, something else?
Yikes.
Elk, yeah, even drawing on that elk, yeah, that's probably my favorite moment, yeah.
Do you feel like you're learning more from the failures than your wins?
Yeah, without a doubt, yeah. To me, it's just been the wind. I've never been one to spend a whole heck of a lot of money on clothing. I just never have been. I'm always that guy that's like, all right, I'll just put all my clothes outside for a month, put it in a tote with a bunch of pine cones and grass, and just let it de-stinkify. and just let it sit. I've never been one to spray down any of that. That's never been me.
So as long as you're hunting the right wind, you've never been busted.
Oh, for sure.
Oh.
Yeah. It's me stepping on things. I've taken socks off, taken boots off before, walked in socks to try to be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, you learn way more from failures than you generally do from, success.
That's probably true. I don't like admitting that, but you're probably right.
Yeah, oh no. Since, again, from going out west, I've missed deer with rifle and bow. Never happened growing up back home. Whitetail are just way, I don't want to say more predictable, but way more of a pattern you can set with whitetail than you can for mule deer.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it feels like they're just made like out of shadows. They're weird.
You feel like they're more on edge out west than a whitetail are?
No, whitetail are definitely way more skittish than muleys are. It's just sometimes, again, they're just nomadic. So they could be here for a couple days, and then you hike back in there, and they're just not there whatsoever.
They just have a wider area? that they cover?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like I said, sometimes you can find them, and then the next day you'll go in there, and they'll be completely gone. Especially in Colorado, at the spot that I hunt, it takes an hour and a half just to get up to the mountains where you can start to hunt. So generally out west, not a whole lot of folks will take the time to hike in.
Sure.
A ton of road hunting there, because you can road hunt in just glass.
Yeah.
That's just, I don't want to do that. I want the experience. I want to earn it.
How far are you hiking in then? Like what's the...
I mean, it's an hour and a half. So, and it's an hour and a half switchback up the mountain, just back and forth, back and forth. Even
Did you just find that scouting? Like you just went out
just
there
on,
and scouted?
yeah, on X.
Okay.
Just hours spent figuring that out. And it's just going where you think nobody else is willing to go.
Sure.
That's just where, even for me, I've never been big on gear. Like have a half decent bow, half decent rifle. I've just never spent a whole lot of money on clothing.
Yeah.
Especially when it was like Colorado, the mule deer tag, I think it's $550 now, $600. We put in last year, for this year, we didn't get drawn. But that's where I'd rather spend my money on is the tag.
That makes sense.
Versus having super cool pants.
That's fair.
To each their own. I don't think I'm very Hollywood.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. So the difference between Pennsylvania and out west, can you guys bait in Pennsylvania?
You have to stop baiting, I believe, within 30 days before the season starts.
What would be the point in that? Like, why would you bait 30 days?
I mean, just to get them into the area. I think that's the rule now. I think you have to stop 30 days prior to.
Okay, but you can't bait during the season at all?
No,
Okay.
Again, I've been active duty for 15 years. So even when I go to Pennsylvania every year, it's usually just for rifle season for deer, and it's only just to go with my old man. Like the 8-point I shot this year was by no means a record breaker whatsoever. It's just the experience just to be with him. That's all. Because I have 2 kids now. I have 2 boys, and it's just I hope that they're able to pick that up what I do, hunting, fish, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So even shooting that deer was just more about the memory going back. So rules for PA, yeah. Other than I've been out of it. It's been a hot minute since I've been back there, really.
All right. What's your strategy to get your kids into hunting?
It's just the frequency of going. Like I have a 5-year-old now, and finally now, that the weather breaks, we try to go fishing at least once a week.
Okay.
So like Saturday, Sunday, there's a couple ponds nearby. They're like 15, 20 minutes away.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quick just to take him there.
Sure.
He's 5. So usually you take a kid fishing, all they want to do is throw rocks.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting way better. It's sometimes I'll hook the bluegill and then just hand him the rod.
Okay.
Just so he can have, that kind of
Yeah.
ingrained
Fun part
experience
of
of
it.
his own.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. First deer harvest. Let's talk about that.
It was back in Pennsylvania, it was with, my old man had to work a double, all of hunting season. So I went with his best friend. And I remember we were sitting there eating donuts, because it's pretty typical of Pittsburgh hunting. We're eating donuts, and I remember he went, "Holy crap, here they come." And I, of course, as a kid, I think I stood up at the point. I think I was 12. And I'm pretty sure I stood up because I remember he yanked me down. And I remember taking my time, because it was a good donut. I remember taking my time to set the donut down. And 2 doe came right in front of us. And also in Pittsburgh fashion, he shot first before he let the kids shoot. So he shot, and his doe kind of ran off. And he was of course, hurry, shoot, shoot, shoot.
Yeah.
And it was just luckily enough, the old 30-30, I just did it right, it just pure by chance. And shot, and it ran a little bit, and then just keeled over, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Pretty memorable, yeah. It's the first one, it's always a big deal.
Okay. Did you ever get an elk or anything like that out west?
Nope. Couple bear, couple mule deer, antelope, but nope. Mm-hmm.
So I know you said you used Onyx, but before that came out, like how were you finding your properties on like state land? And that
Yeah,
kind of
Google
stuff?
Map.
Okay.
Almost everything that I've done has all been public land. So Google Maps was always big. I've always been kind of a cheapskate. I've always just been frugal. Onyx is just such an incredible tool now.
Sure.
So like I splurge for it now. But before it was Google Maps, even when I get stationed out west again, like this October we're moving back there, back to Washington. And I have folks that are still in the area and they still scout my spot for me. So it's still good, everything is still set up, so it should be a quick, roll right back into it once I get back there. But it's just all Google Map. It's willing to go where you think nobody else is willing to go.
Sure. Do you have any stories out there, running into people or anything else like that?
Not a whole heck of a lot. So many people road hunt. They're just not willing to put the time in. If you can hike in like one day and maybe just camp and then hunt that whole next day or 2 days, just bring a little bit of food with you, it's just a way better experience than just driving the roads. Usually when they drive the roads, sometimes they just push stuff to you. Because it's just so steep in so many things. I mean, they're just not willing to do it.
Sure.
Honestly, it's, even shed hunting out there, I've barely run into anybody. They're lazy. They're lazy when you get out west.
Okay, all right, that's good. So I guess the next question for you would be like, how do you measure a good hunt? Like, how do you measure like whether this was a good deer or I'm going to take that deer or that kind of stuff? Like, does it have to have a certain amount of points? Does it have to be memorable?
No. There's a lot of different factors that go into it. Really, to me, it's just more about the whole experience. I have a couple deer mounted, but like I shot a deer in Georgia and it was a big 8-point in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
So even when I took it to the check station, everybody was like, holy crap, this is a monster. And it's a big buck. The G2 I think are 14 inches on it.
Okay.
So for a southern buck, yeah, it's mounted. And it's also like my first Georgia deer, so it was just unique. Out west, I have my antelope mounted because they're just beautiful. They just look awesome. He's not even like gonna book anything like that. I think he was like 13 and a half. So it's nothing huge whatsoever, but just a great experience.
Sure.
It's honestly, just the experience of it. I've caught a lot of different fish too that I thought I should maybe get mounted, but just take a quick picture. I don't know.
Okay.
That's a tough one. That's a really good question.
So you got one right here. What was the justification for that one?
I caught that 2 weeks before my first son was born. And I remember when I went to go fishing in North Carolina, my wife said, why the heck are you going fishing? Like I could give birth at any moment. And I remember saying, it won't be too long. I'll be right back. So that bass is 8.5 pounds. And I caught it and I thought, I just had a feeling it was bigger than my kid. So it was longer than my kid and fatter than he was. So it's one of those dad moments where I'm just going to put it in his room later on and be like, look, boy, that was bigger than you when you were born.
Okay.
I have another 10-pound, 2-ounce bass that's mounted also from North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
That's at the house, though. So that one, again, wasn't even my biggest fish to ever get mounted. It was just the experience, just to say to my kid, hey, that was bigger than you, that's all.
Okay. All right.
And the wife. Yeah, that's what it's doing.
Is that why it's here, not at home?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. All right. What's the best way for someone to get into hunting? So if they know nothing about it, what's the best way to?
I would daggum YouTube, Google a little bit. If you can just find one person that has a little bit of knowledge or you have like a little bit of respect for, just see if you can tag along. So many folks only focus on deer. Deer is king like everywhere you go. Squirrel hunting taught me so much. It was so much fun to do that, and you don't always have to worry about the wind. You just got to be quiet. Just take your time.
Mm-hmm.
So just don't always, you can just go full-fledged go into deer. Duck hunting's a whole different ballgame too. Just see if you could find somebody to go, or it's just about getting out there.
Mm-hmm.
I found way more, because I love shed hunting. I found so many sheds just from turkey hunting, just from being out there. Find somebody, find a mentor, or just go. This is the only go around you got. Like, this is it. Like, you're never going to get this morning ever again back.
That's a good point.
Just go. Time is an unlimited resource. We never know how much we even have.
Yeah.
Go. Just get your butt out there.
Okay. Do you feel like you were doing that a lot with the transition from east to west? Just trying to figure out how the game changed when it comes to western hunting?
Yep. Everything, even fishing, everything is different. Because I caught a lot of sturgeon out there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Every lure that they use out west to here, everything is completely different. Because I fished all up and down the East Coast, pretty much New York, like to Florida, and then out west was completely different ball game. Just colder water temperatures, just different presentations, and it was honestly it was a lot of time and money spent in gas.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the nice thing about having like a little commuter car, is that it's just way cheaper to get into that, because money is always a factor for so many folks.
Sure.
And it was a lot of Google Maps and a lot of just road time.
Is that how you found the fishing spots? Was the Google Maps and
Mhm.
just
Yep.
driving around and
Yep.
that kind of stuff?
And right when I got out west, I had a map of Washington State that I pinned onto my wall. And after just Google mapping, I put pins like where I wanted to go and just try and just see how it is there.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a separate notebook just for Washington State, just of when I went, what I caught, did it pan out. It's just, again, I said the word predator earlier. Like, when you're hunting and fishing, that's kind of how you have to categorize yourself. I think, like, you are the predator.
Sure.
I am there for the experience, but at the end of the day, I'm there to catch something, or I'm there to shoot something.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to get the task done.
Yeah.
That's just how that's just what makes sense to me.
Make the most out of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. We'll ask, what are your goals for this upcoming hunting season? Like, what do you want to do? You put in for tags?
So again, I'm moving October 2nd. So it's like prime time. Now, I have, again, like my elk spots, and I really love turkey hunting, just from, again, turkey and mule deer are my favorite just from being out west. So a lot of my friends there now, only a couple, when I say a lot, 2 of them, know of my hunting spots that still live in that area. So they're doing all the research. I would love to get an elk in archery this year, because even the spot we hunt, it's any bull. So even the 4x4 was a big one there. If it's any spike, anything's going to go down.
Gotcha.
By the time I get there, like, duck hunting is pretty phenomenal out west as well, versus Pittsburgh, where if you saw 5 a day, it's like, it is a good day, versus seeing thousands a day.
Yeah.
So this fall is going to be hopefully an elk, but it should end up being like it's salmon season, so it should end up being some salmon. We'll knock on wood. Elk is priority, as it's been for decades.
Okay. You don't have to tell the story if you don't want to, but you
Mhm.
told me about the story of you in the dorms and how you would set yourself up for the weekend and then go out hunting for the rest of the time.
About when I was that was just a place like to lay my head.
Yeah, basically that story of how you spent most of the time out there in the woods and that kind of stuff, and you get stuff from the DFAC and take it with you out there.
Oh yeah. Well, even before I left the dorms, because again, it's free food when you're in there.
Mm-hmm.
I would just go in and be like, can I just have a burger patty? And they would just give me the patty. And I did way more with burger patties than I did with chicken breast, but they would just give me the burger patty. And I would take it home, and I did this for 4 months, and just vacuum sealed everything.
Mm-hmm.
So when I had to go out, it was like, okay, now I have a burger. All I gotta do is heat it up.
Yeah.
It's vacuum sealed, it's good. And then, number one, it's just about me being frugal.
It's a good idea.
I would just much rather spend money on gas to get there and tags. I've never been real big into equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Even though a lot of the gear that I have is old and tattered, some of the stuff is me sewing it back together. I don't know, it's to each their own, but yeah, that helped a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that one time I was out, scouting for mule deer. That's up above Lake Chelan. It's just beautiful. But you have to hike. You have to hike in. It's far.
Yeah.
And I remember I barely brought any water, and I spilled all my water, and I had to go down to the creek to get it. I remember just watching TV, YouTube, I'll just boil this, no big deal. I brought coffee filters because once you boil water, it's distilled and it tastes terrible. So you gotta hydrate it again through coffee filter. And as I'm boiling my water, the pot tipped, spilled all the water, and put the fire out. That was a pretty good moment too. I remember going oh man. It was an hour and a half down to get water, and forever. It gets so steep,
How far was the car?
Oh,
That's not even an
Far.
option.
Yeah, no, that was not. Yeah, I left the car there because hiked way in because I wanted the mule deer experience.
Right.
I saw a ton of archery, or velvet muley bucks,
Mm.
and of course when I go back for archery season, they were
Nowhere
over.
seen yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well worth it. It was a great experience, but I definitely used living in the dorms to my advantage. Yeah, big time.
Okay. All right. That's good. That's good. Do you plan on acquiring any hunting land of yourself?
Like me purchasing the land.
Yeah.
I don't know, yes or no. Like even, again, I'll be retired in about 5 years now. So my wife and I are probably gonna buy like 10 acres. 10 acres out west is a considerable more amount of money than it is back east.
Mm-hmm.
So that 10 acres, if I can hunt on it, that's, icing on the cake.
Sure.
If we could buy stuff that butts up to BLM land, or BLM DNR, obviously that'd be phenomenal.
Right.
So we'll just see what happens. I've been permitted public land almost my entire life.
Okay. All right.
I've had issues with people hunting, from Pennsylvania,
Mhm.
where they for some reason think that it's their spots. I beat you.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
get out. I'm here first. You can sit there. I can't stop you. But come on now.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're all hunting together.
Sure.
I love other people to hunt. It's just every once in a while you get that doofus
Yep.
that just thinks it's their property. I'm like, come on now, can't we just work together?
Yeah.
You look one way, I'll look another. Come on now, man. I don't know. It depends on kind of what I can stumble upon out west. You never know.
Okay. All right. There's some deals out there.
Yeah, sure.
All right. This is the last question. I know we joke about it, but what's your thoughts on the Rumpola buck?
Oh yeah,
You don't think it's real?
I don't think that's real whatsoever.
Okay. Tell me why. Why don't you think it's real?
It's just, everything. What was it, like Traverse City, Michigan, right?
Yeah, and that's part. Yeah.
As far as I know about Michigan people, is that it's just like, again, Western, like Pennsylvania, there's so many hunters per capita.
Mm-hmm.
I know Michigan is the exact same way. So many licenses are sold.
Right.
I would think you would hear a lot of stories of that buck. My buddy in southern Ohio shot a big, like non-typical buck. Just a real goofy looking deer. And people from 3 counties over knew about that deer. So, yeah, sometimes that word spreads. Like growing up for mushroom hunting, I always still go out for morels and stuff like that. You generally don't talk about it. Sometimes when a big buck is spotted though, somebody will tell who they think is their close friend, and it takes that one friend just to slip up.
Tell everybody.
And it's just gonna get blown up. I don't think.
There's no social media back then though, so there's no trail cam photos or anything else like that. It was a different time.
When did he shoot that deer? Was it
I think
98?
it was like 97, 98. So I mean,
It's
yeah.
90s. We're not back in the Stone Age then.
Okay. All
There's
right.
people are still videoing their hunts and stuff like that back then.
Big timers, like
That was still, still camcorder stuff like that, but
It's true.
I think there'd be just too much word. Good on that old boy for doctoring up that whole deer. He did really good.
It made it in the paper. I remember that. Like it was in our local paper and that kind of stuff. Usually it's never in there, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Bigfoot's in the paper all the time. So.
They say he's a well-established hunter. I don't know. They say he's a good hunter. So
Yeah,
he's got other deer that are like that. So
yeah, from research I've seen that he has shot, big deer in the past, which
Yeah.
is good on him. I just think
if that was like his first deer, I'd be like, yeah, it's a hoax. But
Yeah.
Photoshop wasn't really around back then.
it's just a goofy looking picture, and like there's not many other pictures taken of it like right then and there.
It's true. Just the one photo. That's a good point.
Yeah, so I would think, especially if somebody, he's gonna have some friends. I'm assuming.
Maybe he's just a loner. He just likes being by himself.
I know. I took pictures, like even growing up. I have disposable camera pictures still.
Yeah.
Of my dad's friend that shot big deer,
Mhm.
and I was like, heck yeah, I'm 7. Like, click, yeah. I still have those pictures right now to this day.
Okay. All right.
I would think that there would be one other human on the planet that can produce one additional picture of this deer.
I can't argue that. That's a good point.
Yeah, that's
a good point.
That's kind of my thought.
So while we're on topics like that, tell me your thoughts of that Ohio deer that got taken away from.
Oh yeah,
By the
no kidding.
DNR.
Yeah. It seems like that's just a raw deal for that guy.
So I think he
Well,
just didn't have permission to hunt that, even though it was somebody in his family.
Yeah, his
He
sister's
just didn't have
property.
written permission, I guess. And I don't know.
Yeah, that's gonna suck. Yeah, that's gonna suck. They're taking it away. He didn't, he was supposed to get permission from the landowner. Who knows the backstory though? I'm sure that's family stuff that we don't need. I don't need to hear about. That's the thing with that. Like, that's a huge deer. That sucks for that guy.
Yeah.
I also, however, it's none of my business to hear about what if there's something going on in his family.
I just want to get to the bottom of it. Like, I just want to know if, like, did the sister say, yeah, he couldn't hunt here? Or was there just not a letter written, and that's what he needed in order for it to get recorded, Like,
To me, that sounds like there's an outside influence going on. Somebody else is chiming in, like, why the heck did you let him hunt here? Who knows? They may have been, again, not close at all. I didn't dive into it.
yeah.
When it gets to be anything with family, honestly, if I need to know, I'll know. If I don't need to know, I don't give a crap. I don't want to know anything about your family business unless I need to know. If I can help in any way. But
Sure.
it's a raw deal. No doubt about it.
That's a
It's
big
a
deal.
monster buck that, that sucks. How
Yeah.
many pictures were taken about that?
There were
Probably-
at least a couple, yeah.
Probably several, yeah.
There was at least a couple.
Yeah.
So at least he's got that claim to fame. But so that's pretty much it. I appreciate your time.
Sweet, man.
Thanks for answering my random questions and things like that.
Yeah.
So best of luck out west.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, yeah.
And yeah, it should be good.
Yeah, you too, man. Sweet, thank you.